So as he's coming in, again, we all know why we're here. So we want to shed light on this issue that plagues our communities, and hopefully we can create some dialogue that will continue on after this, well after this conversation, to be shared by everybody, and just get this conversation going, so we can reach a viable solution, whatever that looks like, and from our perspectives. So this is what we're doing together. We respectfully, just have we want some solution based topic here. So without no further ado, Idris, I'll give you the floor.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Oh, it's not even morning, it's afternoon. I think I'm muted now.
No, you're all right. You're good.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. How you doing?
Afternoon.
It's nice to see you. Thanks for joining. Thanks for coming on board and at least having a conversation with me. Just to give you some context, last week I sort of started this campaign called Don't Stab Your Future, Don't Stop Your Future. Don't Stab is the name of the original organization, but the word stab was difficult to get into certain conversations and same times felt a little insensitive, albeit for me, it's more direct. I started the organization about 3 years ago, and it was really designed to just try and fund or at least offer funding opportunities for organizations around knife crime and youth services that weren't receiving any money or very little. And over the years, I've worked with the Immediate Theatre in Hackney, which is a lovely organization that has a theatre organization bringing kids after school into their clubs. I worked with Steel Warriors who take knives off young people and turn them into kids' playgrounds and sports things. I worked with Storm from South London, which is a great sort of youth service program run by a lovely lady who just tries as much as she can to connect young people to their opportunities, their potential opportunities, and a handful of others. And, I make a hoodie, I sell the hoodie. I put the money directly to these organizations. I try not to, I don't make any money from any of that. I regurgitate the money. So Don't Stop Your Future, Don't Stab Your Future has been around for a little bit. I try not to amplify or make too much press around it. I just want to get on with it. And so last week I decided, look, I'm going to do something about it using the acronym and just going for it. And the outcry is really to push the agenda, to open up dialogue, to get people talking about it, especially at government level, because I feel like a lot of the issues that we're seeing around this topic, government needs to be aware of, needs to have something to do with it, have to have a voice at the table. But equally, it was important that our communities, the communities have a voice at the table and are heard as to why some of the issues are the way they are, including parents, including educators, including young people themselves. So during this campaign, I'm trying to make sure that I galvanize as many of us and hear from, people, thoughts, suggestions, ideas, criticism, you name it. I'm open to it all, because the more we talk about it, I think the more we have an understanding of how to try and eradicate it. I wanted to meet you guys, maybe, get a chance to hear from you. Maybe you ask me questions, maybe I ask you questions. So just welcome. Thank you.
All right, who's up?
No problem. So can I introduce myself? I'm Special K. Nice to meet you, Idris. Handy, love what you're doing, my brother. And massive shout out to the other guys on the panel as well. I mean, this is a moment. I love moments like this because, more strength and more unity. That's what I'm about. Outside of DJing and licking off boys' head, because that's what I like to do day to day, I work. Come on, we're all sound boys, we're all DJs. So, but outside of that,
hold on. Okay.
Yeah, outside of that, my job, I'm an appropriate adult. For those of you that may not know what that is, we work with vulnerable people in custody and prisons, particularly mental health, but under 18 juveniles that need support in the custodial system, criminal justice system. I've been doing that for 16 years. I was based at Lucian Police Station for the last 11 years, where I've been working with most of the gangs in South London. An average of twice a week, I'm sitting on a murder, twice a week, average. Over the last 10 years, I've got to know a lot of gang members throughout London because I've had to represent them and be their appropriate adult. So basically, my role is, as they've got arrested for the alleged offence, what they need is a support worker that is with them through the whole process while they're detained in custody. If they're over 18, usually it's somebody with mental health, suffering from PTSD, schizophrenia, you name it, bipolar, the list goes on, PTSD. So my role is I facilitate between them and the police just to make sure they understand the whole process, sampling, taking swabs, fingerprints, the whole process, liaison with inspectors, sergeants. That's my role. I joined the job around 2006, I think 2007, around that time. But anyway, the point I was gonna get to, over the years, I've been an advocate of, knife crime. And that's one of the reasons why I got involved with the job in the first place. But what I've been able to do is gather my own research and data and information, because like myself, my only connection with the community is through music. So I was one of those people, I'll put my hands up, I was very ignorant as to why kids do what they do. But it's only until you start working with them and understand youth culture, you get to see other dynamics that are happening behind youths, i.e. absent fathers, grooming, which is not spoken about enough in the media. Grooming is a massive part to play with the kids on the street, and other little facets as well. But one of the things that I've recognized in the last few years, I feel like the only way to get information in data is speak to the kids themselves. Find out what it is that you feel would be a deterrent. So, they have all these meetings all the time. Well, I think we should do this. 5 years mandatory for carrying a knife. Cool. It's never been implemented. I don't know any of youth that has gone to prison for 5 years, even though it's mandatory. But my point is this. I asked them, what do you think would be a deterrent for you carrying a knife? You know what most of them say to me? The general response from most youths under 18 carrying machetes, Rambos, you name it. Unks, man ain't going jail, blood. Man ain't going jail, blood. That's why they carry knives, fam. You're going to get locked up for 3 months, if that, and you're back on road, fam. If a man was going jail for five years, what, you think they'd be carrying knives, bro? You're mad. Who wants to go jail for 5 years for carrying a knife? You're mad, unks. Man's got peas to make, unks. That's what they tell me. And that's the general feedback I've had over the years from Black, white, Albanian, Romanians. I've represented all of them. And that's what they tell me. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. Someone let me know if there is other information that I haven't been notified, but I don't know of any youth carrying a knife that goes to prison for 5 years for carrying a knife.
And let me ask you.
Yeah.
So obviously, you might be saying something obvious, but are you saying to me that if there was longer sentencing for it, it would be a massive deterrent?
100%. It won't erase it, but it would be a massive deterrent. 100%. But that's only based on what they say, not me. I asked them.
Special. So when you consider that you get 5 years for certain types of offenses, and let's say you suggest that as a way of as a deterrent, what does it suggest for the other offenses and the time handed out, or should everything grow proportionately?
Well, the thing is as well, then it starts going into all the other theories where people start thinking, is crime a business? Are the hierarchies doing this to still, promote negativity on the street. Because let's be real about this. I've worked with loads of police at Lewisham. 9 times out of 10, right, Idris, most of the officers at Lewisham Police Station come from Surrey or
they're
Sussex.
not from Lewisham.
You understand, Milktray? Right?
They're not from the ends.
They come from Sussex in their 20-bedroom yard, and they got horses and donkeys as pets, right? That's where they live. And they commute to Victoria, change at Victoria to Lewisham. Hello, mate, we got Levi here. Yeah, he's just been arrested with a machete. It's all theatrical, all a joke. I've seen it all. I've been working in custody for years. I see the smiles on their faces when they're unfortunately, most of the kids that are losing their lives within South London are black kids. And that's the reality. It doesn't affect their communities.
No, it doesn't. Sorry to jump in. Idris.
Sorry, I don't want to hog up. That's what I just wanted to express that anyway.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
DJ Milktray here from the whole program. So I've been doing this kind of stuff for the last couple of years now. I know a lot of the guys here, to be honest, most of them they're heroes to me. So just manners and respect to a lot of them. But I'm currently in a school right now. We started our own organization called the Hope Program, based in Croydon. And we know that Croydon's had a lot of negative press over the last how many years with regards to, council running out of money, knife crime, all of that. A few of us started a little gathering about 3 or 4 years ago, Donna, would you say? About 3 years ago now. And we kind of came together as organizations in the area. So whether it be grassroots, council, police, we started like a weekly meeting to kind of get everybody together in one room. So not only just like the organizations, but police. We had police in the meeting every week. The meeting still happens every week in Croydon. And some great things have come out of that room. Funding for organizations, the Mayens bid, which is some funding from Sadiq with regards to helping grassroots organizations who are actively out there doing the work. But what we found is the relationship between the police and the community has always been a strain. And like Special K said, a lot of the police that have come in, like we've sat down now, we've got relationships. I've got police officers that I can actually say that I can work with who had no idea. Like one of our guys, his first interaction with the police was watching Boys in the Hood. So for a man who comes from country to then have his first, dealing with black people watching that, it's not really going to put us in a good light. So we've been able to kind of repair and kind of do some work together with them. The likes of Anthony King, Sace from NTVE. These guys are actively now trying to train the police and trying to change how they kind of do their thing. But ultimately, I think what it is, how I see it, we got to try and get them early. So right now, I'm in a primary school. I've got like 8 or 9 kids that I'll be teaching in about 25 minutes. So we go around and we teach kids. We also run a free weekly program in Croydon, in the heart of West Croydon. In the last 2.5 years, we've had about 50 or 60 kids come through the program. We've taken them to Ministry of Sound. They've performed at festivals. They actually now, some of them have actually got their own radio show. So we run an online radio station called Reach LDN Radio. Our youngest DJ, she is 13. I was teaching her from the age of 8. And she's doing extremely well. But I think really, for me, is, as I said, we've got to try and catch them early. Not saying that these lot are totally lost, but if we don't want to lose another generation, I think it's really trying to get a lot of the organizations the funding that they need. Like I'm a full-time DJ, so I was working full-time, COVID came, everything kind of popped down, but God is good and he's opened doors and I've been able to do what I'm doing. And I love doing what I'm doing, but I'll honestly tell you, there's loads of organizations that are struggling to actually do and provide the work. And I know it's the same old thing. We need money, but I'll just let everybody know now, if everybody took away my funding, I'll take the money out of my own pocket to run my whole program. Because my kids in Croydon, they need this. Like I had a parent message me 2 days ago. She's like, I'm just losing faith. I had a quick word with him, boom, 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 and he's kind of back on track. So I think ultimately it's always, and not always, but a lot of it is going to be down to money, sir. Money.
Thank you for saying that. I just want to hear from DMT as well, like working together. Talk to me, if you don't mind, about your organization and how, you know, like what are the highs and the lows about it currently for you?
Good afternoon, everyone. So, what are the highs? My organization has always worked with adults, so I've always worked with the parents of young people who are either the perpetrators of knife crime, or indeed I work with the parents to support the parents who have children who have died because of knife crime. I also work with the in-between, so parents whose children have been stabbed and they're all right, but there was the trauma around it. So, and I work significantly within the community. Some of the work that Milktray was just describing is work that I'm part of, where we train police officers. But my comments for this meeting will be related to the community. I think there's two things to me. I think, you know, having been around 7 years in this kind of space, I think the Black community's got to start looking at how we self-fund. So I was really keen. I was interviewed last week, Saturday, on LBC, Idris, around your statement and what you've done and what my thoughts are around it. And I think if you can use your platform and your reach, and we can encourage other Black celebrities to kind of look within, you know, and I don't mean to give a history, guys, but I'm sure you'll understand. When our parents came here, the partner system is what paid for the houses that often many of us played and lived in. You know, this society is not going to give us a handout. You know, the machinery of this country grinds on the bones of poor children. And in terms of the criminal justice system, that would be Black children disproportionately. So for me, it's about us as a community looking at how we solve these things for ourselves. We've got the superstars. Look, here am I, middle day on a call with Nakawuna. It's not that we don't have the P's, it's we don't have the organization. And I think that's a different conversation. How do we, those of us with reaches, with leadership, how do we organize ourselves so that we can start to draw down some of the funding that other people get, St. Giles and all of these useless charities? We should be getting that money through somebody like yourself, Idris, in your organization. And that should act as the figurehead, and then should be diluting money down to organizations like myself, my good brother, Mr. Oram, and other people on the call. That's the way, you know, it needs to be done. So for me, there's a separate conversation that needs to be had around how do we organize ourselves better? Because the handouts are exactly there. They're there and they're short for a reason. You know, it's a bit like going out, you get felt up, but nobody calls you an Uber to get home. So it's to create an atmosphere of one, and then it sods off. And we are still left, the community is still left with the issues they had in the first place. Some of the issues that I see are around domestic abuse, and not perhaps in the way that we would often think. There is a lot of elder abuse. A lot of parents, mums and dads, are dealing with this type of violence from their own children that would probably shock you all. You know, grown Black men are scared of their own children. Sorry.
I was going to ask you about that. It's in general for everyone, you know. I can imagine some of us are parents, if not all of us. And I noticed in my, you know, journey along this understanding is that parenting for the age group we're talking to, these kids that are between, you know, almost 10 and 17, but the parents' average age is younger too. Because we're fine. And I would like to just examine what you guys think about this. I was saying this in one of my interviews that the parents sometimes, whether it's a broken home, whether it's a young mother, you know, haven't got the same sort of guidance that perhaps our parents from a different generation had. You know, it was a slightly bigger family group, maybe, you know, auntie over there would come in and, you know, help her with this, that, and the third. But I just wonder, do you think that's a contributing factor where some of these kids are just lawless because their parents haven't got a clue?
So you know, I'm not gonna waste anybody's time, but the Black community is severely fractured. I think we have to start from the way that we grew up, we were raised. We weren't just raised by our parents. You know, that whole village thing. It was real, because even if your neighbor was white or Asian and they saw you doing something wrong, you're gonna get a check, and then they was gonna tell your parents, you're gonna get it. We don't live like that anymore. We live very, you know, very insular ways. Even if somebody tells you something, you take umbrage. People don't have the support networks that we had when we were young. So children cannot be raised by one individual. It's impossible. You need a whole realm of people to raise a child. And unfortunately, for us in our communities, in poorer communities, a lot of that has broken down, not just because I think economics has got a large part to do with it, because people have to work 2-3 jobs. We don't have as much stay-at-home mums as we had when we were young people, where our dad would be the breadwinner and mum would be at home with us. That's no longer, you know, financial. Underneath that, when you have, you know, there's no support network to kind of advise you. We've got way more mentors than we ever had when we were young. Why? Because a lot of that work was done by the community in which we lived, was done by our elders. We don't have that anymore for a lot of our young people. We also have more immigrant mums, single mums from the Caribbean and Africa than we ever had when we were young. And so again, they're raising children in adverse circumstances, in often economic hardship, trying to raise these children with little and no money, with no man and no extra family support. It's an impossible task. And these are definitely factors that contribute towards knife crime, because children don't have anybody to check on them. They're basically not running wild, but they're free to do what they want and make their own decisions. And community members, I've seen our own community members afraid of our own children, if that makes any sense. I think that's where we are at the moment, that a lot of people wouldn't step in. They'll say, no, well, what about my life and my kids? So I think there's a whole range of subject and kind of context underneath this, but I would definitely say things are not the way we grew up.
Dee, I want to open up a little bit. Thank you, though. I appreciate that, because that's a big topic for me that I'm trying to examine. Quincy, I saw you put your hand up. I know you're a dad as well, and you've been a young dad as well. So just open up the conversation. I know you put your hand up earlier.
I think that picking up on what Donna says, and it's something what you said earlier on, we're going for help to people who haven't got a connection with the culture. And first things first, people, if you don't care about yourself, why should somebody else care about you? And it's like gentrification. You can pretty up the estate and the area as much as you want and make it look pretty on the outside. But if the same ethos of the mindset of the people are still living there, it's literally not going to work. So I think that what we need to address first before we reach out for money is we need to address our community. And I say address our community. Look, there's DJs on here. I tell jokes in front of these people. Frisky, Milktray, Special K Boogie, we play music. We know these people live amongst us, and I think that we're in a mindset where we celebrate badness. And the unfortunate thing about it, all of us here all know each other, but the reality is none of our children know each other. So our children technically go around and get into some kind of argument, whether it's my children and our grandchildren, and have a beef with your son or your daughter or Milktray's cousin. And it's like, well, the connect, and then you find out later on, oh, that's so-and-so's dad, whereas that could have been avoided. I'm not saying everybody must live kumbaya, but I think that focusing on a campaign, we need to address our community first, because our community have got PTSD. Our community have literally been through the mill, and it is very much of, we need to call out the BS which happened in our community. And lastly, I just want to say this. We have this notion that we put all black people under the same umbrella. Yeah, we are non-monolithic. Yeah, so the reality is this: there was a time when we was growing up, there was as they say, a yardie problem, and that's why the police and the government got Operation Trident to control gun crime, to manage the yardies, so to speak. Right? We are moving on, and we have different ethnicities and different cultures from parts of Africa, parts of Asia, and it's all under the umbrella. we have to work out, right, what demographic of black people or young black people are committing these crimes. Why is this happening? Don't just pigeonhole the whole of young people under one umbrella, because we're different. And I think, again, that is something that we need to address. And as in for raising money, the same way we can raise money for a dance. And I think that even some of our organizations, we need to stand outside, all due respect, stand outside a stamp or a Coke. And like the LCOT, when it comes to comedy shows, they've got their buckets. Because we know these people. So I think that we need to, before we look for solutions from outside of the culture, we need to address what happens in our culture and call out what our culture is doing.
Prince,
All right.
I was going to say,
Sorry.
yes, sir. Proud Gifted, sir. How you doing? You all right?
I'm good, thanks. Hello, everyone. This is where I'm different. We need to stop beating down our young people, okay? We know that some of them in society just need help and engagement. For everyone that doesn't know me, I'm Steve, I'm Proud and Gifted. I'm the founder, and I created my platform to celebrate young people in our society. Because I think we overlook the young people we have around us, and we keep focuses on the ones that, who I say, they grab the headlines, but they're the minority, and they grab it for the wrong reasons. But because the media's killing us, we start to believe that most of our kids, especially the black kids, carry a knife, they're drug sellers. No, they're not. I have celebrated me and my team have celebrated 600 young people, combination online, in person. Why do I do this? Because I want to show them that for every young person that ends up in the media with allegation knife crime, and to go back, I do the same job as Special K, so I work in the police station as an appropriate adult. So I see, okay, let's say the negative side to young people, and I refuse to start a campaign like that when I know for a fact we have positive, inspiring, and amazing young people around us that we tend to overlook. That's why I started Proud and Gifted. The main focus is when everyone keeps like stifling our young people, I'm there to pop up to say, no, we have young people around us that we should be more proud of, and we should encourage them to do more things. So I'd like to say, Boogie Boy, you told me one day you'd get me on such a call. Thank you very much. And this is me. I'll always brighten up a mood, because right now, everyone's just
Bless up.
I want to say big up to you for doing that, because I think that's, definitely important. I think part of Don't Stop Your Future's sort of ideology is about your future is bright. And we need to remind young people about that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, your future is only bright by the choices you make. Because if you make the wrong decision, sometimes that future is taken away from you. And I feel like what we were touching on earlier, where there is very little in terms of role models. The role models, you guys are role models. Everyone that's called is a role model because you've got a voice, you're using it. But, as we heard earlier about grooming, we heard about, parenting not really being as good as it could. When we heard earlier about how the community's fractured, that's the reality, of young people these days.
However,
so I just
however, I'm not interrupting you. However, we still can't overlook that they can still aspire to be amazing things regardless of their surroundings.
Yes.
That's it.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that. And I think what you're doing by highlighting the gifted is definitely important, because if you live amongst kings, you will be the next king, and that's important. That's something my dad used to teach me. Mr. Reggie, sir, I know we hadn't had a chance to say hello yet, but welcome and thanks for coming on board.
Yes. Well done to everybody who's on here. Obviously, most of the people in here know who I am. Been in the music industry for a very long time, for those who don't know. I worked in quite a few record labels, and one of them being for I set up the Def Jam Street Team, then got headhunted to do the Sony and Sony BMG, ambient marketing and so forth. So my idea when I first spoke to Frisky, I don't know where Frisky's gone, but
I'm just listening. Sorry, I'm just busy doing some stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So I thought, listen, we're all community radio DJs. Like Stephen said, it's about uplifting and it's about us presenting something that can be motivating to a lot of our youngsters. I'm just here for solutions. You guys do some great stuff. I've never done anything on that size. I could say being in charge of a street team, which is regionally around the country, and having 200 members who are made up of DJs and also just general people. The majority of them, as a result of our mentorship or my mentorship, being in the street team, some of them have gone on to become chefs. Some of them have gone on to the music industry. Some have gone into TV, and a lot of them have accredited them being part of the Sony Def Jam Street Team as part of their journey. So for me, it's about us as the community radio stations coming out with a message for don't stop your future, because the whole point of it is about don't stop in your future. How can we create the future for a lot of these youngsters with the tools that we have? Okay, we don't have a lot of financial backing at the moment, but we can make a stand. We can do something. I mean, I had an idea literally whilst we were talking, which is to say, well, look, we all are on community radio stations. We have some great community DJs and community radio stations with a great outreach. We need to do something drastic where we encourage a positive message. So that could be something like one day of the week, all of the top community radio stations have a day where we just focus on positivity in the community, whether it's playing positive music, whether it's speaking to people who are doing positive things, or also us encouraging a lot of youths to connect with various people. Last night, I managed to get on a call with a good friend of mine who's a VP at Salesforce. They have a great program called Trailerhead. And I said, you know what? How easy would it be for us to maybe get community people from the community to get on board on this course? He said, Reg, look, always open. And the result of this course is it helps a lot of people to find their pathway, whether you want to go into cybersecurity, or you want to go into sales, or you want to start your own business, or you want to get some kind of experience. Things like that are what I'm about. I'm here to kind of like say, look, we have the tools to be able to provide it, but let's get one messaging or some kind of messaging across to our community by doing things like a drastic thing, by having an action day where we do actually have once a month, whether it's once a month or it's over a 4-week period, one day in that week, we are going to focus on positivity using our platforms, whether it's streaming that Quincy does or whether it's a radio show or a radio station. So I don't know what you guys think about that, but that's my solution that I'm bringing to the table.
I love it, Reggie. Reggie, I'm going to say, Quincy, I think it's great that, Quincy, you even said it, and Milktray, you mentioned it as well. We need to fund ourselves. We need to start to look within ourselves to sort of bolster young people, give them somewhere, a North Star, but we also to try and repackage or reintroduce the community of everyone trying to help each other. You know what I mean? So that we can all look at each other's children, look after each other's children, look after each other's communities. Finding a way like that is a good idea to sort of maybe take a whole month and we're saying, look, each radio station is going to contribute something to the thing where everyone in their community raises 5p, beep your horn twice and send a tenner in, whatever it is that everyone, and then we redistribute those funds to the organizations that Milktray is doing right now that you know what I mean, need that funding. I think it's a really good idea. We should think on it a bit more. Quincy, what was you going to say, boss?
Yeah, I'm 100% agreement with Reggie. I think that as a station, most stations celebrate Black History Month, and I think that for what I've done in my part of my show, I think that there's let young people present the show. So as much as Milktray side has got the DJs, let young people sit amongst us and co-present a show. Whether we have a designated studio or it's in a particular place, but they're articulating themselves by having a conversation with different youngsters from different boroughs and finding common grounds on topics and debates. And it ain't, well, I don't include myself in this, it ain't old people doing it, yeah? So it's young.
I was about to say, Quincy, I'm young, you know, don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like we always come in at it as we're grown people, and we never, like I said, what I've set up, I've got young people who are reaching out to co-present with me. So it's like during the holidays where we know breakfast and after school clubs are 10 to a penny and it costs a lot of money. It's like, right, you've got 3 hours to come into my platform and you can co-present a show with me. And at the end of that, you can show your parents and various other various other people what you're doing, and you can take that experience. And you don't have to be like, I'm going to be in the next James O'Brien or Trevor Manhattan. You can that speaking skills takes you into how you articulate yourself in an interview, how you articulate yourself presenting and pitching your own business. So this is what I agree with Reggie.
Okay.
I think
that's fair enough, and I think them things are a great idea, right? But what we don't want is a tick box for people just to use our young people to if a lot of people not copied but just watch what DJ Milktray does with his young people week in, week out, it's not a tick box exercise. That's right. This is what we need to get past. Everybody can sign up for it, and I shouldn't say that, but in 6 months' time, most of them might phase out. And where does that leave our young people once again?
Yeah, but we're not talking about phasing it out. It's about a continuous thing.
Yeah, but I understand that. But this is
I think the Mothers with Guns campaign back in the day, I was involved in it with a guy called Raymond Stevenson. That ended up lasting for 7 years. We told the Home Office and told the police, listen, we need to reignite this every 5 years. There's got to be, because there's always going to be new people, new kids coming through. So we need to keep that campaign going.
If we to self-fund what we need to do, we won't have that problem again that
I understand
you unfortunately had 7 years. Yeah.
But this is where I'm saying that something like this, having an action day, is just a start. It's a beginning. It's something where we can use to do regularly anyway, because there's always going to be opportunities available. So for instance, when Quincy's talking about, having kids in, that's fantastic. We can organize a syndicated radio day. So, you know, it is possible in this day and age, 2023, for all of us to link from Frisky show to Quincy show to somebody in Birmingham to Manchester to Leicester. I mean, I have all those contacts. I have that black book available through me doing my job. So,
Reggie, let me ask you this, you know, and ask all the DJs, like one of the criticisms that I've been facing as, you know, using my platform is you're an entertainer. What do you know? And don't you play characters that are violent? Aren't you put your song on Grime Daily? Don't they just perpetuate violence all day long? And that was one of the criticisms that I found really interesting. But I'm curious to get your perspective as DJs that play music day in, day out. What two-part question. One, I don't really care what the criticism is. I think that people in my position that are entertainers that have soapboxes or whatever should be allowed to speak and say what they have to say. But I'm interested to hear from you, like, how important do you think it is that Stormzy or Bugsy Malone or anyone has something to say in this arena? And number two, how do we encourage and sustain, you know, right now there's an outcry and people are speaking about it, but how do we sustain that? How does music and entertainment sustain that? So the first question is, do we think that people in the public eye should be speaking up more, and how do we make them do that? And two, how do we think that music can sustain the messaging?
So look,
Hey, guys, hold on. Time is short. With all due respect, can we hear from Frisky? Would you care to address that?
Yeah, please. Yeah, sorry, go for it. Yeah, Frisky.
Yo, man. Good afternoon, everyone. It is nice to meet you, bro.
How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, just to I've just been running around trying to do stuff. I'll be listening to everything what's going on. And in regards to your question just now, like I didn't know what you was doing until obviously of recent, you know. So yes, it is very important that people, you know, who are known and all of this kind of stuff, you know, step up and do stuff. Yeah, people are gonna talk nonsense. Oh yeah, you're this and you're that. You know what it is, bro? Like everyone's just got something to say nowadays. That's my thing. Like, I think people are bored. They're just saying things for the sake of saying it. If you're so bothered about it, why are you not doing anything about it? Do you know what I mean? Like that's my thing. Whenever someone says to me, "Oh, how come you're doing this? How come you're just a DJ?" Nah, it's bigger than that. You don't look at the bigger picture of things. Do you know what I mean? Like as elders, yeah, we have to try our best to pattern up the future. Do you know what I'm saying? So on my radio show, like I'm lucky enough that my breakfast show is broadcasted on 4 FM stations all over the UK at the same time, you know, and I use my platform to spread positivity with the kids. You know, I have very, very younger listeners, like from 4 up until like 11, you know, the ones that are going to school with mummy or daddy, do you know what I'm saying? And like, I try my best to instill into them, yo, we got to work hard every day at school. We got to do this. We got to do this. Like, it's one of them kind of like things in it. It's like I won't call it like a sheep mentality, but when they hear other kids doing it, they want to do it too. Do you know what I mean? So they might hear a kid with me on the radio saying something, and they'll be like, background could be saying, "Oh, mommy, daddy, yeah, I want to do that too." Do you know what I mean? Like, so my thing is when, like, because I give them a chance to call me live, and I just have banter with them, I spread vibes with them, and I say to them like, you know, are you happy this morning? Yeah, why are you happy? Oh, because I'm going to school, but they're hearing all the other kids saying it on the other mornings too. So that's what I want to hear them say. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like for today, for example, I had a kid call me today telling me, "Oh, he's happy because he's not going to school tomorrow." And I'm like, "Why are you happy because you're not going to school tomorrow?" "Oh, because school's boring." So I have to like give you the proper talk, and that's like, yo, you know, everything that you're doing now is patterning you up for later on in life. Like you need to do what you're doing now so you don't struggle later on in life. Do you know what I mean? And that's and what you said earlier as well in regards to the parents being young. Yes, that's a big thing as well, because I feel my parents were really, really strict with me, even though I still was doing nonsense. But I feel that parents are really, really young, and they're still trying to live their life at the moment, at the same time as well, and be a parent too. So it's a bit, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like our parents are older, and that was their thing. Like, yep, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do that. But where the parents are so young now, it's like, you know, it's very, very difficult because they're trying to live their life at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
I'd just like to chime in and add, I mean, obviously Frisky's amazing at what he does, and he has a massive pull with the kids, and, you know, his motivational quotes of the day, which he does, which is fantastic. And if we could replicate something like that, or get Frisky to take the lead on something like that in the breakfast, and then everybody else does something else in our day of action or days of action, you know, that would be great. On the music front, I mean, I've plugged music for years. I've plugged gang music, I've plugged all types. I think for me, there was never any. I wasn't fearful about promoting people like Method Man and Redman, because I always had a balance. So we had a balance of music that we could take to the radio stations. Unfortunately, over the last 10 years or so, what's happened is that we've lost control of the narrative at radio with our own music, and there is no balance. There's no balance in regards to the music that we actually get to hear on a mainstream level. Me and Special were talking just last night, and the fact that the community radio stations probably play more positive music than your average mainstream radio stations. Taking out one extra, they do a good job by putting in some positive music. But I think it's just having that balance of positive music. When I plug a positive record, the last time I plugged a record to a mainstream commercial radio station that was really positive, they turned around and said to me, "We don't want to seem like we're preaching to our audience." So these are the conversations I have and the battles that I have to face. I can tell you from my job and my perspective of trying to balance the narrative in regards to our messaging that we're putting out to our community. And I always, I'm people will tell you, and the head of programs at radio stations will tell you they hate having plug-in meetings with me because I'm the person that will call them out. I have no fear at all in regards to losing face or anything. Oh, we don't want to work with Reg because, you know, that usual term, he's a bit aggressive type thing in the commercial. I don't, that's something that I'm not really too concerned about. So for me, if we can take hold of that narrative ourselves as community radio DJs and say, look, we are going to put out our positive music. We're going to put out our positive message. Rest assured, every other DJ that is on that mainstream radio station, they all cohort with us anyway. They were on the same bills. We all talk, we all meet up at the same showcases and so forth. We will be able to hold that narrative and influence everybody else and these mainstream radio stations or mainstream platforms to follow our lead. And it just starts with a small group of us doing something like this that has, a lot of positive action behind it. Everybody else would join. Like what Frisky said, the kids, literally, once they see other kids getting involved, they're all going to want to get involved. So I think that's where I can come from my perspective.
And brilliant. And
I can't tell you how to make a kid put down a knife, but I can say to you, look, if I can bring a positive message that will encourage them to want to become a doctor, lawyer, runner, or the next, take Idris's part in the next movie, fantastic. Do you know what I mean? You know, for me, that's what I'm about.
And following on from Reggie's point, Idris, can I just follow on from there?
Yeah, of course.
And you made a very valid point as well. That question there, I like that question because one of the reasons why, you were saying about, they might criticize because someone of your profile, like, why is he saying all this constructive stuff or why is he trying to be positive? Another thing that I've heard from myself, from the community, is that once these rappers who were quote unquote, because not all of them come from a clean background, and a lot of them, especially the rappers per se, they might have these multi-million-pound deals, but a lot of them are still affiliated on road and still doing things. But once they go through the door, they don't bother with the community stations anyway. They only go mainstream stations.
Sorry, Special.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. Let me just jump in real quick. My kid, I've got to do my workshop. The kids are here.
Okay, Milktray, man.
Yeah, big up. So,
all right, brother.
Good to see everybody.
Thank you so much for joining, man.
Please, somebody just update me with the notes.
Yeah.
And let's just keep this conversation going.
Definitely, most definitely.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks so
Congratulations on
much.
your award, brother. I never got to see you that night,
Thank you, sir. Manners.
Yeah, go on.
Manners.
Get out now.
Please,
Nice to meet you, get milk. Nice.
Respect.
I just want to say to Reggie, never say you can't make a young person put a knife down because you can.
Appreciate that, man.
In closing, guys, sorry, time short, Powie. Can we hear from Donna real quick? She had something to say earlier. If you don't mind.
Hi, I just didn't want to let the fact that I have a Zoom full of men without making this point, and I think this is interesting. I don't know where you lot go. It's not like you lot trying to go on like it's never happened to me before. But anyway,
no, it hasn't, Donna. It hasn't, because we know you, Donna. It has happened to you.
Domestic abuse, in terms of my work, and I've got captured data on this. The way that domestic abuse in our communities kind of underpins knife crime. Again, another factor that is rarely spoken about, and it does go back to that point that Quincy made around, having those really pertinent questions with our community, because those things, sometimes when you have to reflect inwards, and we know the Black community, we are part of it. We know what it feels like. You want to tell a man, you can't tell me about myself, but actually the amount of young men, especially I have worked with, where domestic abuse and sexual violence that they've seen and experienced at an early age is very much part of their foundational thinking about relationships towards peers and their relationships towards women. And I think is part of the reason that we're seeing that upsurge in especially son to mother violence that we're seeing in domestic settings. It's it's really come alive. So I did want to, for me, on my online platform, I have used occasions like this to say to my brothers, you have to check yourself. If you've got a brethren in the circle and the thing, you have to check him, because ultimately what he says and how he behaves is influencing and having an impact on the children and the young people that are around him. And for us as a community, sometimes I think where we've gone wrong, if anybody was to ask me, Idris, where does Donna think we've gone wrong? I would say we stopped policing one another. We stopped holding each other to account. We stopped having interventions and we started leaving each other alone. And in that vacuum was birthed some of the issues that we're here today to talk about.
Yeah,
men don't hold
I
themselves to account. Women don't hold themselves to account. And this massive drift that there is, I've never seen anything like it before. I wasn't raised in it.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite, at odds with the way that I kind of like see myself and have lived my life. But I notice that increasingly it is the modus operandi for a lot of families in our community and a lot of our young people. So I didn't want to let the opportunity go, guys, about saying, domestic abuse, not just, and it's not just the violence, it's also, coercive control, economic, financial, abuse, all of these things, emotional, spiritual, all of these things. When children grow up in those environments, and I'll give you an example. I'm a child of Jehovah's Witnesses, and on my first domestic abuse event that I hosted, I told the rest of my team, I couldn't possibly know what it was to have lived in a domestic abuse household because I never seen my father lick my mother. It wasn't until I realized that actually my dad, I had experienced emotional abuse, financial abuse. So sometimes what you don't know, you may think doesn't affect you. But actually, when I've done workshops with mums and children, I mean, the sexual abuse, historic, you lot heard about RAC here, we've got in Brixton, every area has them. Those historical abuses of young women back in the 60s and 70s, they're having an effect now because those are the grandmothers and the mothers that cannot parent because they are still triggered by their own trauma. So I didn't want us to leave without saying a very real word about what is going on in our community and how you as men, you, Idris especially, all of you with your platforms, Reggie, you spoke very well about, the work that you do. Maybe you get people like me and Steve Oram on. I wouldn't mind going on and listening to Frisky's show. You get those of us who are doing the work, we have a conversation with you, and we spread that awareness. Where can you find Steve Oram? Where can you find Donna Murray Turner? Well, they're here. Because I think one of the things that is always against us is our access to opportunity. The Black community is blighted by lack of access to opportunity. And you've got two of us sat right here. So, and three of us and four of us. So actually, again, it goes back to my point about how we organize ourselves to be the change that we want to be. And, I can't speak for Steve, but I'm here. You've got my contact details, but I'm prepared to be slightly more strategic. I don't just want us to have fun days. I want us to approach Superdrug and all these other people that take our money, Tesco and Sainsbury's, especially in heavily Black populated areas, and say, give us some of your tax write-off in Idris's name so that we can do this stuff. So I'll leave it there, but that's kind of like where my thinking is.
Well, I just say, listen, just because we're running out of time, the positives that I think we're taking away from this is one thing, and Proud, you said it, sir, that, we have to big up our youth. We have to big them up. We have to give them a North Star to show them, hey, listen, you have a better way. You're doing good. You could be doing better. You should be doing better. I think that you're in the heart of that crutch where you're seeing, you're in that arena where you see a young person who's in for something, but you can be their North Star by being their contact. And I think that as a community of DJs, voices, what we're realizing as well from Reggie's point is that there is a positive where if we come together a little bit in some format, in some way, organized critical thinking, talking, connectivity, we bring that sense of the neighborhood back, the communities back a little bit. I think Quincy's point of, again, attached to that, the youth, where we've got to bring youthful voices into the mix. We're all of a certain age. We've got a certain amount of experience. But I think, like Frisky's got young people on his radio and he's talking to them on the phone. We need to hear that voice a lot more. We need to put them in our stations. We need to figure out a way. Look, I'm sort of like encouraged by today. I was a bit nervous, because I wasn't sure how, this generation, my generation of community DJs. I used to be on Climax FM. I'm just going to put that out there. I just remember my man was on Climax FM back in the day. But, I wasn't sure how, as someone that stepped into the public eye and trying to still be attached to my community and having a voice would be accepted or would be, welcomed. And from this meeting, I'm realizing that I am, and that it is encouraged for voices for us to come together collectively. And I'm hoping that we can take this little nucleus that we've had today and do it again and try and multiply. You know,
I'll tell you what we're going to do,
Can I
Idris.
just-
I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take today, yeah, and then we're going to meet for everybody to see that your engagement with your community is second to none to help our young people. That's
right,
what we're going to
Steve.
do next.
okay, sir. That's good. I want to be a part of that too. I want us to do that together for
And
sure.
I'm gonna put this out there to all my brothers and sisters on the panel and everybody speaking today. I just want to say that I feel encouraged and really motivated by today. But I'm telling you what I want to do. I want all of you on my show to have this debate live.
Well, I'm waiting. Well, I'll be waiting.
That's what I want. How about that? Because they need to hear us. They need to hear us. They're listening. We've all got platforms, and then we can rotate it. We all go on different shows and do the same thing. That's what we do.
There you go. Yeah.
100%. I agree with that. I think we should not leave here without arranging. Everyone goes on each other's platform.
Yeah.
And we have the same discussion. If we can't make it, but we continue the discussion. And that's
we build a tour out.
That's how it's going to grow. Just like that. Stephen loves it.
Sustained. We'll set up a group out of this and synchronize.
Yes, please. Make sure that happens. And let's take this audio. Like, I'm going to send the audio to everyone. Chop it up how you feel fit. You know what I'm saying? I will definitely, in the months, weeks ahead, make myself available to everyone's show. You know what I mean? You know, Special K was sending out shots. I'll come and play tune, whatever you want. I'm ready. But I would love to just keep this going, man. I love it.
Coming to Clash Special. Don't watch that.
Why'd you keep putting the DJ element in this?
Coming to Clash
Special K, you know.
Reggie, you know,
I brought you, yeah? Me bring you, Boogie. Me bring you. Relax, yeah?
All right.
Sorry. I just fell on the floor then.
One last question. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Idris, I asked people, Proud and Gifted, what do we do? I'd like everybody to repeat, we celebrate young people's achievements. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah,
So
1999.
So Proud and Gifted, what do we do?
We celebrate
young people's achievements.
That weren't good. Sorry. Proud and Gifted, what do we do?
We celebrate young people's achievements.
Thank you.
Boom.
Yes, Stevie.
Manners and respect to everybody that made time to be here. This is monumental.
I've got to.
And I really do appreciate all of your sacrifices, putting yourself out there for the best, for the betterment of our community where we live and beyond. So thank you all. Enough respect to all.
Quincy, I'll see you later. I'll wait for your time.
Yeah, much love. I'll send this out to everyone, okay? And be in touch soon. Thank you so much.
Peace.
Much love.
Yeah.
Later, Bugs.
Boogie, wait.